Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we are going to be comparing the Nike Vaporfly 4 with the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3. Let's have a look at these two shoes. The Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3 costs £260 or $300. It weighs 170 grams or 6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Nike Vaporfly 4 costs £239.99 or $270. It weighs 171 grams or 6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 6mm. The Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3 is a big overhaul on the previous versions of the shoe. The incredibly lightweight design uses an upgraded NITROFOAM Elite midsole to provide a high level of energy return that combines with an extended carbon fiber power plate for a propulsive toe-off. On the outsole is a layer of the brand's popular Puma grip to ensure a good level of traction, while a paper-thin ultra-weave upper using a 4-way stretch material is built to reduce weight and friction while still providing a supportive and comfortable fit. Nike has made some big changes in the fourth version of one of the world's most popular race shoes, aiming to focus development on producing a noticeably lighter shoe than its predecessors. That's been achieved by trimming the outsole, midsole and modifying the upper, removing around 5mm of stack height compared to the Vaporfly 3. Nike also says that the ZoomX foam used is lighter than the previous version, and the carbon fiber plate is positioned at a higher angle than that used in the Vaporfly 3, which works alongside a lower heel-to-toe drop to improve the propulsion of the shoe. The upper is made from a lightweight engineered mesh with a new reduced sized heel and tongue, and the outsole sees a thinner layer of rubber across the length of the shoe.
So on fit, I ran in a UK 8.5, US 9.5, which is my regular size in both Nike and Puma. In the Puma, I was initially a bit concerned about the width. The uppers are quite narrow, but I actually find they work quite well. Sort of race hugging snug, still flexible enough to move with the foot. I've got enough length in the toe box as well, which is good. And I came out of the London Marathon test that I did the race with my feet 100% intact. The heel hold and midfoot security was spot on for me. No troublesome slipping or rubbing. I've got quite wide feet, and you can see I get a bit of spilling over. Some people may want a bit more width, but I like the tighter race fit with that kind of flexible edge, and so I'd recommend going true to size in the Puma. For the Vaporfly 4, I felt the fit was good overall as well, with a good balance of hold and flex. The uppers wrap nicely, but move and flex with your foot. So though the fit is race hugging as well, they also avoid feeling cramped, like some carbon race shoes can feel a bit tight and snug. At times where I didn't pay enough attention to lacing, I did have a little bit of heel slipping. I could fix that quite easily by lashing the laces down more precisely. And so overall, I'd still recommend going true to size in the Nike as well.
So the fit for me in these two shoes, I'm a size 8 in the UK. I've got both of these in a size 8. Quite similar, actually. There's actually quite a lot of space before my big toe in the Vaporfly 4 in my UK size 8. And it's quite a roomy forefoot as well, which is something that you don't always experience with race shoes. The midfoot is actually pretty roomy as well for a race shoe. I've got fairly average with feet, and it fits me very comfortably. I'm not pushing against it or anything like that. And it does have a good placing of cushioning, a light little bit of cushioning around the back, but does work very well for me. The tongue is also very thin, but I've not had any issues at all with it. I found it very, very comfortable, and I would stay to my UK size 8 in this. The Puma is pretty similar, actually. I've got quite a bit of space in the forefoot, more than I normally expect in a race shoe, and it's fairly forgiving forefoot and midfoot section as well. For my average with feet, I did have plenty of space in the midfoot, but I did find it very easy to get a really good lockdown in both of these shoes. I really like the uppers on both of these, actually. I think they're really nice and breathable and comfortable. There's a nice little bit of padding around the Puma. I don't have any issues with rubbing or anything like that, and this really thin tongue on the Puma, there's no padding on it at all, but I didn't have any problems with it. I found it quite easy to get a nice comfortable fit, but that upper is so thin on the Puma. It's impressive how light and breathable it is. So I'd say to my UK size 8 in both of these shoes. So these are two shoes that are quite similar in a lot of ways. They're both very lightweight running shoes. They both are shoes designed for running fast over different distances, but I think that there's certain qualities to the Puma that make it a little bit different from the Vaporfly. The Vaporfly 4 is a shoe that they have minimized, they've lowered the stack height on this shoe in comparison to previous versions, and you do notice that out on the run. I used to run in the Vaporfly 2s loads. I wasn't a massive fan of the 3, but this updated midsole does feel like there's less to this shoe, and as a result it doesn't feel as bouncy as you might experience in things like the early versions or the Alpha Fly, things like that. It feels to me like a much more nimble shoe now that's very much tailored more towards shorter distance training or short to mid distance training. So for me, I've been running in this 5 and 10k. I don't think I'd like to use it for half marathon. I think it'd be fine. I just like a bit more cushioning and bounce from my race shoes, especially when I'm going up to half marathon distance, and I definitely wouldn't use it for a marathon. I don't think there's enough to this shoe now for me, and I probably wouldn't have massively liked to use the Vaporfly 2 for many marathons. I was a big Alpha Fly man because I really like that big base on it and the big bouncy feel of the shoe. So I definitely think it's a shoe that's tailored more towards nippier, faster, shorter races than marathons for most people. I think if you're an elite or you're a seasoned athlete who likes lighter, more nimble shoes, you'd be absolutely fine for a marathon. Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3, similar. It does have a very similar feel to it in that lightness and the geometry and everything, but there's just a lot more to this midsole. It's and this plate. It feels really propulsive. I've done 5Ks and 10Ks in this, and it feels so fast. It's got a really nice bit of engine return in it, nice bit of kick from the plate, and it just feels like there's nothing on your feet. So it's a really impressive shoe. I really enjoyed using this, and I also think that midsole foam is a bit more to it, and I definitely would be happy to run half marathon distance in it, and maybe a marathon, but again I probably want a bit more of a base on it and a bit more engine return from it, with things like the Alpha Fly, which is one of my favourite race shoes. So I think the difference really comes down. There's the similarities are that they're both very lightweight shoes that feel very fast, but I think it's that there's just a lot more to that midsole. It just feels bouncier, more energetic, and I think it's a more aggressive shoe as well. A lot of similarities, but I think there's a big difference in that midsole. The outsole on these, so the Vaporfly 4 is actually really good on the forefoot. It's a really thick layer of rubber on the forefoot. The back, if you watch the channel, you know I destroy the back sections of a lot of my race shoes. Haven't done it in this yet, and I'm probably up to about 45k in this, and I've raced in it a few times. It's kind of a little bit there, but that's not very bad compared to most of the shoes that I test. So fairly good outsole on the Vaporfly 4. The Puma has a really interesting outsole. So the front section, it's not very grippy, but it's got a pretty good layer of rubber across the forefoot. So pretty good on that. It is Puma grip, but it does feel very smooth. I've not run on anything that was particularly slippy in this. And the back section, there's a couple of bits of rubber on here as well. And I am wearing that back section down a little bit. I've done a little bit less in this. I'm probably at about 35k in the Puma actually. I don't want to waste it on training runs, but not bad. But I think durability may be a slight issue on these for my style of running, and I destroy most race shoes.
Now, on the run test, I've covered more than 50 miles in both shoes. In the Vaporfly 4, that includes an all-out 10-miler where I set a new PB. In the Puma Fast-R 3, I did a treadmill efficiency test over at the Puma HQ in Herzog. That threw up some interesting and excellent kind of results for the shoe. I did a fast 10-miler, a punchy parkrun 5k where I ran my fastest ever 5k, knocking 12 seconds off to run 17:41. I raced the London Marathon where I ran 2:58, missed my PB by about 4 minutes, but stupidly ran the first half of that in a PB time for a half. So I've generally pushed the pace in both shoes. I've also run on ragged, tired legs as well. Now I think this Puma shoe is the real deal. When you get moving close to marathon pace, the Fast-R 3 springs into action and feeds back energy, efficiency and lightness. From my real world tests, it's definitely up there at the very top alongside things like the Metaspeed Sky Paris for its race day performance. This is an excellent shoe that makes you want to run faster, and when you do, it serves up a smooth, punchy efficiency to help you along your way. It took me a few runs to feel my way into the ride and the feel on the foot. It's not immediately natural with that sort of complex midsole setup that you've got here. It requires a bit of attention to foot placement. But once you find the sweet spot in this shoe, it really works. Also, I'd say there's just about enough under the midfoot to forefoot to prevent too much unwanted battering coming up from the tarmac. though again, some might want more. That said, I 100% think this shoe requires a certain sort of fast form as well. I don't think I'd be picking it up if I was a 4, 5, 6 hour marathon runner. I think there are definitely better for shoes for being on feet for that long. With the Vaporfly 4, I really like how reliable the landings and the transitions are. They feel smooth. There's an energy without sort of wildness. I certainly think I could run 26.2 miles in these shoes if I was in good shape and going for it. But I like shoes that are snappy and responsive and close to the ground. Some runners may well find that the Vaporfly doesn't have enough cushion in the sweet spot for it. It's anything up to the half marathon. Certainly if you're looking for protection and cushion for the last miles of a 4 hour plus marathon, you might be better reaching for a more cushioned carbon shoe than either of these two shoes, in fact, or even a non-carbon shoe for that matter. Now, if you liked earlier versions of the Vaporfly and found the 3 a bit too mushy, I think the 4 is a step back towards the kind of stiffer, firmer, more responsive shoe. I like their lighter, more minimal feeling, a bit close to the ground and connected with some added firmness and snap to the ride. That was what I quite loved about the OG Vaporfly. And you've got a bit of that back here in this shoe, and it's a shoe that's still built well for racing fast. Verdict then on how to separate these shoes. Well, I think you've got two capable shoes that can cover anything up to the marathon distance, but the Puma Fast-R 3 is the punchier, more aggressive shoe, and I think it's the faster shoe as well. It's also the shoe that I would choose first to go race a marathon if I was chasing a PB, PR. The Nike might have a half marathon sweet spot for a lot of runners. It might well suit, or at least be more comfortable and natural for some, on a wider range of runners maybe, but potentially a bit more accommodating than the setup of the Fast-R 3. But if I was fit and able to cover the race distance with locked in good form, the Fast-R 3 would be the shoe that I would lace up to go chasing those fastest times. It's light, efficient, and pretty much everything that I want in an all-out race shoe. The Vaporfly 4 is still a good shoe in its own right, but I still think the early Vaporflies sort of did it better when it came to that sort of full stiffness and racy snap. That kind of forced you, I thought, to lock in good form. You couldn't really get lazy in those early generation Vaporflies. These ones haven't quite matched that. Now, I'd love to see Nike lean into that again and make the Vapor a shoe that was really different, distinct. It had something different to the shoes like the Fast-R 3, but they're now sort of closer together. I really wish that we'd get something that just make the Vaporfly do something completely different than the other race shoes. If you've got the Alpha further up the chain, have the Vapor provided sort of different type of ride feel. It doesn't. It's sort of close to these, but probably not as good. So if I'm going to choose one shoe out of these two to spend my money on, for me, it's going to be the Puma Fast-R.
So my verdict on these two shoes, pretty easy one. I think both of these shoes are very good at dealing with shorter, faster 5Ks, 10Ks and up to half marathon maybe. But I think it really comes down to the aggressiveness and the propulsion of the Puma. I think it's a far superior shoe. I think it just feels fast. You really just pick up the pace so quickly in it. They both feel very, very light. Vaporfly 4 is a very fast shoe. I just think that the Puma just feels like it's doing a lot more. I don't think the Vaporfly 4 feels like it's doing a lot. It just feels like a fast, light shoe. Whereas the Puma just is a bit more aggressive, just feels like it's just tipping you forward, bouncing you on, and you're getting a real nice kickback from that plate as well. So I'd definitely go for the Puma all the way. I think it's one of the most interesting and exciting race shoes for the past year. And I think you're going to hear a lot more about it over the next year. Not only from us, but it's definitely becoming a very, very popular one at the moment. So I definitely go for the Puma all the way. I just think it's a far superior shoe. That's it from us on this comparison of the Nike Vaporfly 4 and the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click that little bell. If you're going to catch me below, you can find it to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.